Anyway, I want to welcome us formally, ladies and gentlemen, boys and germs, everyone in between. Welcome to the Mark and Roll podcast. Mark, what do we need?
We need to talk about Pride Month.
Yes, we do, but we also need new friends. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, that too.
We
I
know
also
you're
need
excited.
a new co-host.
Yes, that's fine.
Sorry, I got excited. I'm wearing the pink shirt, all right? I'm wearing the pink shirt.
I know. I'm afraid to ask you what's on the bottom. But no, I love your enthusiasm. I love that you come. No, I appreciate your enthusiasm. I love that you completely skipped 17 minutes of our show. But hey, you know what? I'm going to remind everybody, it is day 88, maybe 89 on some of your calendars. June 2020. We're halfway through this absolutely incredulous year. Episode 8. And I know you love this title, Nelson. It's Let's Marvin Gaye and Get It On. Sexual freedom, burning passion, and igniting liberation. Happy Pride Month to all, Nelson. Thank you for saying that. Now, we mentioned freedom. We mentioned liberation. Of course, we mentioned passion. And this is, of course, in honor of what holiday tomorrow, sir?
It is Independence Day, I believe, right here in the Philippines, our adopted country.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. June is such a busy day for holidays. But before we go on, I have a caveat, though.
Sure. Fire away.
We know, of course, that there are a lot of things that are ongoing right now, life and death, right? So tonight's topic, of course, it being Pride Month, we are not belittling what is ongoing. In fact, we're bringing light to it by having a healthy discussion about it because, you know, if we want to invoke change, we need to be put in that difficult situation and we need to have that discussion. So with that being said, you know, we are supporting, of course, the LGBTQ community. You know, gay rights is an uphill battle for them. And I tell you, Nelson, this is a topic I know absolutely nothing about. You as well are in the same category as me, but we're here to learn. That's what we're both excited about. We're coming into this empty canvases. So let's pace ourselves and start off slow. It's a hefty topic. I'm going to ask you the first question.
Okay, sure. Fire away.
All right. I think you can handle this one. What was your first experience with someone in the LGBT community, when and where? Talk us through it, sir.
The first time I remember coming across anyone in the LGBTQ community was probably when I was a kid and we moved to Tanzania. And my parents had a friend there who was quite flamboyant. And I wasn't quite sure what he was at the time, but his name was Lady Lombard. And he was like, you know, very, you know, he dressed extravagantly, and he was your, you know, like the type of gay person you might see in a movie. But that was him in real life. Yeah, you know, very, you know, la-di-da and but I mean, the nicest. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I'm so sorry. You said Tanzania. Things are running through my mind. I need to know. This is important to me. Is this a black person or a white person?
This was a white person, but he had a black boyfriend. He had a Tanzanian
Continue,
boyfriend.
Sir. That's awesome. Continue.
They were living there, and very good friends of my parents. And I mean, I knew at the time. I think I was like maybe 7 years old. I knew that he was a little different, but I mean, I was brought up to treat him the same as anyone else, and I guess that is a great way for any child's first, interaction with someone outside what up until then had been normal, because it was just normal. It's just like, okay, well, there's Lady Lombard, he's like that, or she rather is like that. How about you? What was your first interaction or introduction?
It's clearly not as exciting as meeting Lady Lombard in Tanzania, I tell you that. But I just have to comment, my goodness, Lady Lombard is living the life. A gay white person whose boyfriend was black, and she got to wear leopard skin and tiger skin and
literally, like all the leopard. Yeah, that was her look. It was like, you know, the leopard skin scarf and the whole lot.
She safari chic, right? Like she
It's
owned
a
it. She
very
killed it.
safari chic. Absolutely,
Oh
100%.
man, what a
Uh,
fantastic first experience, brother.
yeah.
Mine pales in compare. I should have went first. Mine pales in comparison, but I want to prove a point. And that was this was maybe my second year of college. I went home for the summer and I got a temporary summer job, 3 months long. I got assigned to this gentleman, and it was I rarely had interaction with him because my job was really easy. It was just filing. I was basically the assistant of the assistant's assistant, so it was an easy gig. I talked to him once in a while. He was the main guy in the office. Very professional atmosphere, but it was very casual because it was during the summer. And I remember a month and a half into our into working for him, I was in his office late at night and finishing up my work, handing him some folders, and I felt that I built enough equity, a month and a half,
Mhm.
month and a half of equity, so I can ask him personal questions now. We never really had a chance to have small chat, and it was just me and him. So I noticed there were two portraits on his desk. One was of a golden retriever. Okay, so you
Mhm.
can tell he was a white guy, and then but let me build the image. He was a big, tall, burly white guy, 6'3", 6'4", looked like a lumberjack, even had the beard and everything. So would not suspect that he was gay. And then there was a second picture I asked about. I said, "Oh wow, who is that? Your brother or your father?" I was just completely off. I dug myself in a hole already, and he was like, "No, that's my husband." Or no, boyfriend. I'm sorry, that's my
Yeah.
boyfriend. And that two things happened to me at that moment. Number one, I never knew in a month and a half working for him every day that he was gay. And number two, that's the first time I ever heard a man say that's my husband. That hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I wasn't ready for that. So I was just like, whoa, okay. And to this day I'll remember that was my first. It wasn't Lady Lombard like yours. Mine
Yeah.
was, Paul Bunyan, the lumberjack. But he was gay and he was super cool. Really cool boss. Really cool boss. Never would have suspected anything. Never felt threatened.
But I do believe it is time to move on to one of our favorite segments. Are you ready for it? Ladies
Yes,
and gentlemen,
sir.
it is now time for We Need New Friends. All right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very special month, and for that reason, we have a very, very special guest indeed. She's a hotelier, she's an entrepreneur, a drifter, a international race car driver, a farmer, and a passionate environmentalist. She's arguably the most recognizable trans woman in the Philippines and one of the most accomplished people of any gender that we know. Without much further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Angie Mead King.
What's up?
Woo! Angie!
Angie.
How are you guys doing?
Very good. Welcome, sis. Well, we say, first of all, welcome to the show, and second of all, welcome back to the country.
Yes, we wanted to fly in sometime in May, but yeah, PAL wouldn't fly in because I think DOT was regulating the amount of foreigners or residents coming back in just to make sure that they're trying to control the numbers and flatten that curve, as everyone is saying. But yeah, so describing it to my friends, asking how was the experience, and I was like, it felt like we were flying in an ICU ward.
Okay, in line with that, we know that you're very happily married to Joey, and you've been married since before you became a trans woman.
Yes.
But do you feel that other trans people, they should make if a man goes up to a trans woman and it appears that he doesn't realize that she's a trans woman, do you think that there is any necessity on the case of the trans woman to let it be known that she is trans in order to avoid that sort of uncomfortable situation?
That is a tricky question because a lot of the trans women who come out at a younger age, they tend to live in what they call deep stealth, which is basically not acknowledging their past and who they were. Unlike myself, where I can't do that because I was publicly outed and it's very difficult for me to do that because obviously I came out also at a later age in my life, and our community here in Manila is very small. So that's a tricky subject. I would say from what I've seen online, most women who do date and are on dating apps, they usually do tell their date on the first or second date. Like they don't keep it too long because again, they don't want to deceive people, but they also don't blurt it out on the first 5 minutes of conversation because judgment sets in and all these other things. So before, I guess, you develop communication or relationship on that short time frame, they would rather not divulge that just yet. But I know before it gets into anything intimate, most trans women do want to come clean just to make sure that it's an open book and it's not going to be part of the issues of the relationship. But from what I've seen online, I have not experienced this. It's very difficult for trans women to date because of that issue where the judgmental society will judge you if you're dating a trans woman and not a normal cis woman.
Yeah.
Fantastic question, Mark, and thank you for answering that, Angie. You brought up being outed. Now, if you think the journey you went from LA to Manila, where you thought you were in a movie, was tough, I think you coming out, that was probably the most insane 24 hours of your life. You're like, how do I come out? When do I come out? At what point? And then there's good old Instagram to like, well, let's just do it myself. Anyway, I don't want to steal your thunder, but please tell us that story. It's a fascinating story. It's very timely. It's how you were about to come out and then what? Walk us through.
My dad passed away 2015 of July, and I already decided that year where I was going to start hormones, and the whole plan was to get on hormones, wait for the changes to be more significant, and then plan a coming out. But so I started hormones the end of 2015, and by June of 2016, Instagram decides to send a notification to all of my friend contacts and say, your friend Ian King is on Instagram as Angie Mead. And I get screenshots from my cousins, my friends. They're like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, holy shit. And that account that I had back then, which was just Angie Mead, was blocked and locked. And it had no relation to my Hail to the King account. Like, we weren't friends. It was different cell phones, different numbers. The emails never contacted with each other. I was just trying to be safe and really have a divide. And I actually don't know what happened there. Till this day, even though I met the friends at Facebook Singapore, I still don't know how it happened, but I'm sort of happy it happened because in a way it made it easier for me because I didn't have to explain it to every single relative because I was on the news. And it made it, I guess it took out that burden of explaining to people because obviously by that time I had already spoken to my good friends, my family, the close group, and they already knew what was happening before that even came out. And the day that I decided to unlock my Instagram account, I basically spoke to everyone and they're like, we're ready to defend you. We're ready to side with you and see where this storm will take us. And weirdly enough, I had such a warm reception. The netizens who were watching all this was full support. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine. I don't need to worry and stress out too much. So I know it's huge, like, wow. Because, statistics show, I guess I would put it at 95% of trans people who come out, they lose their jobs, they lose their family, they lose their best friends. And it's a very difficult thing for most people to transition because the people who know you the longest will take the longest also to adapt. So if you had just met me as a trans woman, then you wouldn't think otherwise. But because you've known me as that dude who is like adrenaline junkie and all this, you have two visuals in your head. So the longer you've known me as Ian and as that guy, it makes it more difficult for you to detach and refocus on me now, the present me.
Yeah.
I love
You
it.
know, yeah. Good
Well, no,
job.
it was a follow-up question. I
Yeah,
have so
go
many
ahead.
fantastic. Angie, of course, I remember you mentioning when you did get outed. I think it was an evening, and then you said, "Oh, I don't want to deal with it. Let's just go to sleep, and then I'll deal with it the next day." And then, so how was that slumber? What was going through your mind? I mean, you kind of already mentioned it, but what are the worst thoughts that are going through your head? And the fact that it came out completely opposite. I mean, you represent the most masculine of industries before you came out. You
Yes.
were the head honcho for exotic cars. You were, one of the best people in stunt driving. You represented Victoria Court, which is as masculine and testosterone filled as it gets. What is
Love
going through your
Hotel.
mind? Yeah.
You know what? It was very difficult because a lot of the things that I researched before coming out was, again, the negative aspect of everything, like losing everything, losing my work, losing my family, losing my best friends. And I had this whole game plan to go to LA and live in LA and come out there and be free there. And that's the whole point of like why I set up a business there and why I was traveling so often, in hopes that I had a parachute, a golden parachute, right? But lo and behold, none of that happened. And again, the story couldn't have been written any better for me. And I ended up being accepted here and still having everything. I didn't lose any of my friends. I didn't lose any of my businesses. I have my workers sharing with the managers, like, we respect Sir Ian. He's always nice. So we're going to accept Angie because it's the same person. So one of the things I've learned was, just being a nice person does go a long way in terms of setting the groundwork for whoever I wanted to be.
Well, as two people that have known you for a long time, hey Joey.
She's watching, and
I know we're seeing your comments here. Hey sis.
Hi Joe.
We're like in the same color tone.
As a couple of people that have known you as Ian and now as Angie, we can attest that you are exactly the same person personality-wise. I mean, you're the same, your interests are the same. You still love cars and adrenaline and all of that stuff. You're still one of the most kindest and most genuine people. But and I remember, very sweet. I remember one of our friends, and I remember you saying this before this whole debacle happened. You were concerned because you were in an industry which is very testosterone driven with the cars and all that, and you're wondering how the people in the car industry would take it. And
Yes.
one of the most recognizable people in the car industry, I think it was James Deacon. I remember reading a post of his that said, "You know what? I've known Ian for so many years, and all the guys envied all of his supercars and his talent on the track and all this stuff. But I guess now, as Angie, now all the girls can envy her shoe collection as well."
yes, I remember that. It was so overwhelming when I came out because, again, the outpouring of support was just like, wow, like, how did I write this, or how do I deserve this much like adulation and support from people? And it was insane. Like, I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Hey, from a fashion sense, since you brought it up, Mark, you dress it so much better. I'd like to thank Joey Mead for helping out. Thank you, Joey, for helping Angie.
We know Angie didn't always dress that great when she first came out.
Yeah. Don't be claiming this look as yours. This is Joey. And you look fantastic. You look fantastic, Ange.
Thank you. My wife makes sure that I look on point because it's hard to be married to a fashion supermodel.
Yes, and model mentor and everything.
Nice. Look how perfectly stretched out that thumb is. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah,
She knows what she's doing
model as well.
She's a hand model, exactly. Oh man. I
Yeah,
have a
we should.
question.
Okay, go.
Oh,
Last one, and then we should get into some of our guests' questions as well. I mean,
oh,
our
really?
viewers'
Oh, okay.
questions.
Okay, I got to bring this up because we're
Go.
so chismosa. Okay, I'm chismosa on this in this place, and I love following you, Ange, and I love your friendship and relationship with Caitlyn Jenner. Now, I really quickly, no, one, it's a two-parter. Number one, did Caitlyn coming out obviously help you in your situation, or how did her coming out help the trans and especially yourself, the trans women movement? And number two, you got to tell everybody how you guys met because I think it's the coolest thing. You know what I'm talking about. You take the floor.
I have so much great cuento about that situation because it was such a memorable experience. But yes, Caitlyn coming out was a great icebreaker to explain to people, and it was so easy when people ask like, "You're what?" And I'm like Caitlyn Jenner, and they're like, "Ah, I get it," like because they've seen Caitlyn, and Caitlyn got the most media coverage, I guess, for any trans women of this day and age, where she helped set the groundwork, where you didn't have to be a super girly girl to be a trans woman anymore. Because I guess the stereotype back then was if you were a trans woman, then you have to play the feminine card at the really high level of degree so that people can't fault you for being, I guess, that in that field. But nowadays you have the gender binaries and the nonconformists where they play in a spectrum now, and it moves back and forth for some people. But definitely meeting her was such a cool thing because we were in a parking lot in a car show on Sunday at the Trancas Market, and it was literally like early morning. We were just looking at some cars, and the backstory was Joey had seen Pierce Brosnan, and
007.
exactly. So we were like, let's get a photo. So Joe went up to Pierce. I had my camera following already, just making sure that we don't inconvenience the celebrity as much as possible. And Joey goes up to Pierce and says like, "Excuse me, sir, I'm Joey from the Philippines, and I think you know what I'm going to ask." And Pierce has removed his shades. "I'm Pierce from Ireland, and no thank you." And our faces are just like,
oh no.
But we get it because this is Sunday and it's about cars. It's not about people. But yeah, it was a bit devastating. So we ended up like abandoning ship, turning back to our group.
Boo Pierce, boo Pierce.
Turning back to our group and started joking around. And, being Filipinos, we were with some other Filipinos, we're heckling and saying like, Daniel Craig is better. And like,
I'm never going to buy an Aston Martin.
We don't like Omega. I like Rolex. Anyway, so
yeah.
So while we were heckling and having fun, we were standing by my purple Porsche. And lo and behold, tall trans woman walks over, and I'm just like, because I knew it was Caitlyn, and she was like, "Whose car is this? I want to know." And I was just like, "Mine." And literally within like 3 minutes, I was telling her like, "I just came out, and you're such an inspiration, all this." And she's like, "Get your phone, get my number." And I'm just like blown away. I'm like, really? So got her number, and I'm thinking like, big Hollywood celebrity, nothing's gonna happen. Like she's not gonna call me. And we ended up going around looking for some coffee because I think one of her friends wanted to get a cup of coffee. And so we basically split up. And I was thinking like, when do I call her? When's the right time? And, funny enough, after that, we decided to go get breakfast. So we all jumped in our cars and we headed down to get breakfast. And my partner at the car shop in the US stayed a little longer because she had parked the car in the back. So because she had parked the car in the back, Caitlyn also parked her car in the back. And they'd seen each other again. And she basically said to Caitlin, like, we're going to go have breakfast. Do you want to join us? And she's like, sure, why not? And we were a group of 16 people, like literally,
Wow.
like we're a huge car group. It's Sunday, and breakfast is a huge thing when you're after the car meet. It's breakfast time, and Caitlin, strolled in super late, but she sat right in the middle of the table, conversed with everyone. No bodyguards, no, I guess entourage in that sense, and spoke to everyone like it's a normal Sunday, and we had just met another car lover, and it wasn't a huge issue. But basically, before that, like she had rang me, and I'm looking at my phone, and I took a screenshot because it's like Caitlyn Jenner calling. It's like screenshot. But yes, that was
great story.
That was our Sunday in Malibu Beach meeting Caitlyn Jenner, and it was such a memorable experience because till today, every time we're in Los Angeles, I give her a call, give her a ring, and sometimes I go FaceTime with her just to catch up because, it was such a serendipitous moment for me and also for her because she hasn't met another trans woman with the same interests as her in terms of, we love our cars, we love the adrenaline, we love speed, and we connected also on those things where it made it easier for us to really get along. And she already had invited me to go dirt driving with her in ATVs, and it was just me and her son came out to help set up, but at the end of the day, it was just me and her going around the dunes and having fun for half a day. And we get to do these things because some of her, I guess there's not a lot of trans women in our bracket who loves driving like a loony.
I love that, likes driving like a loony. Now, obviously, people like you and Caitlin, you're lucky that you've had all of these supportive people around you. But some people, as you mentioned before, are not so lucky, and it's very difficult. Like maybe they're the ones close to them aren't so supportive, or the public at large, their employers aren't as supportive. But how important is it to come out if you identify with a different gender?
Oh, wow. I mean, you can't force people to come out. They will come out on their own situation, own rules, in their own time, because it is a mind struggle for trans people because you have your genetic imprint and how society perceives you versus how you see yourself. Excuse me, and you're trying to connect that image in your head versus what you see on the outside. And, it's a different situation for everyone because I was very afraid to come out because I didn't want to disappoint my father, but he actually knew even till the very end, he actually knew already that I wanted to be a woman. And it was very difficult for him because, we're a family of boys, and my dad's like, I raised a boy, and it's very difficult for him. But because of my stepmom, Ling, he was able to really understand and see the situation for what it is. And I felt that if I didn't come out, I was going to mentally self-destruct because it's like running Windows and Mac in your head. And each program is trying to be at the forefront when in reality you should only have one system program running your brain. And it makes it very difficult because of that situation where you're booting up male, but at the back of the program running is female, and it's just like it just screws up with your thoughts, and it's a very heavy thing to keep in your head because trans people like myself, I would have moments where I wake up thinking about it and I go to bed thinking about it. But during the work days where I'm swamped with work, it would be out of sight, out of mind. But when I'm home and have some alone time and I see a mirror, that's where everything like floods back in like a dam that's going bad. So
all right. I have a follow-up question then.
Yes.
At what age did you realize that you identified with a woman? with being a woman?
I had it already at a young age of like 7. It started off with interest in women's clothes. It wasn't always like at 7 I was like, I'm gonna be a woman. It just started off with women's clothes, and with the advent of the internet, where when I was in high school, I was able to dial up and research and see these things. But in the beginning, when I used to look at things online, it was mostly about our sisters who are like sex workers, and back then the terminology was transsexual, where it's not used anymore now. But that was like the keywords you would search to find, I guess,
Stories.
escorts in a way where, when your first page of Google, or I think Yahoo still back then, and it's all like literally porn links, and you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to end up in the porn industry. So I'm so happy that nowadays there are actresses, doctors, people in the car industry, and there's such a diverse field of trans community now, and it's not just like stuck to the stereotypes of being like makeup artist, hairstylist. So it's pretty interesting how it's moved forward so far already.
In line with that, oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Mark. I just would love to ask this. Of course, the support system is vital, and apart from the obvious, who are there for you, your best friends, Joey, of course, your family. Which faction, which group just was so shockingly and surprisingly like, wow, I didn't think they would support me this much?
I would say I thought the car community would vomit and oust me in that sense, where you're not welcome here. But I mean, like after the coming out, after all the media, like I had a car gathering in BGC, and a lot of people came out to say like, we support you. And being in a very male dominated industry where you would think guys would be like, screw that, we don't want any part of that. And it was very scary in that sense. But again, love and support. When I did the racing, funny enough, like I did international racing as a trans person, and not even like, I used to race locally as Ian, but when I became Angie, it's like, I'm gonna race internationally and prove that I can drive. And it was such an interesting experience because, again, with a mixed, diverse field from different countries, different races, and it's just such an interesting experience to see the love and support from other race drivers. So far, knock on wood, everyone that I have met and have worked with, raced with, they all support, and no one's, I haven't had any hugely negative experience about being trans.
Awesome.
Okay.
So awesome.
Now, there's a lot of people that have a little bit of confusion when it comes to trans people, because they see someone that looks like a woman, or like trans women, for instance. They see someone that looks like a woman, and for instance, in the Philippines, they'll automatically think, "Ay, bakla."
Yes.
But that's not necessarily the case. And sexual identity is different. This is a term that you taught me. Yes. Sexual identity is different from sexual preference.
Yes.
Whilst I always understood the concept, it was you that put it into words for me. And can you explain that? Because a lot of people out there automatically think, okay, well, if you identify as a woman, then obviously you like dudes. But you were still extremely happily married to an incredible woman, Joey, who married you when you were Ian, and you guys have maintained that relationship and are like an amazingly strong couple together as two women now. Yes. So can you help explain that to the layman?
Well, so from my experience, again, I actually know of a few trans women who are still married to their partners, and a lot of the trans women that I've spoken to who have been in married relationships most of them would actually prefer to continue that relationship. It's just that a lot of the females do struggle with the fact that they're losing their man in the relationship and being traded up for a trans woman. But so, describing what you just mentioned, gender identity is how you present yourself, and gender preference or sexual preference is who you're attracted to or what sex you're attracted to. And just because you have trans women who look like women, they dress like women, does not mean automatically that they want a guy to make them feel like a woman. So that's where the stereotype comes in, where in the Filipino lingo or language, we do not have the word transgender. Bakla is the all-encompassing terminology which captures lesbian, gay, butch, trans. So the lingo, the language does need to be updated in that sense, where we do need a refresh so that people don't lump sum everyone together. But baby steps, right?
Yes, no, absolutely. Really, really quickly before we end this segment, since you brought it up, and I thank you for leading us here, let's deal with semantics, because it's a very sensitive and politically correct world we live in now.
Yes.
Tranny is not acceptable. Yes, Angie? Yes or no?
Tranny is derogatory, so no, it is not acceptable anymore.
Done. Thank you.
What is the most accepted way of referring to a trans person? Is it a trans person?
Well, so, I mean, it's tricky nowadays because you have, again, the non-binaries and the in-betweeners who prefer them, they, their. And then, for trans women and trans men, it's pretty easy because if they are representing the gender of their choice, then it makes it easy for you to describe.
He and she.
Yeah, he and she, female and male pronouns definitely are the easiest. But at the end of the day, if you are honestly confused, then all you need to do is ask, and anyone will respect that honesty of like, you're just being polite and saying like, I'm really curious. I don't want to disrespect, but I just want to clear it out. And normally in the beginning, when I first came out, I had to explain to people that I prefer female pronouns, but I can't force you to use them. So, I have my own brother who still calls me bro. So I can't change it. I can't force you to call me she or her, but I can ask and I can educate, and it's up to you to make that decision if you're gonna do it or not.
Actually, I think I remember the dinner where you came out to Revilson. We were all there, and I think once you announced that, hey, Ro, I'm identified as a woman, like Angie and everything, and I think one of Revilson's first comments was like, well, now I'm confused. Do I call you bro or do I call you sis?
Honest question.
Yes,
question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just need to ask.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Just letting you know, it's okay to ask a trans person a question. We're not gonna move forward and change and grow if we don't ask the difficult questions. So thank you so much.
I think there are some questions. There are a couple of questions that we probably shouldn't ask. And the same way that you wouldn't ask a straight person. You don't ask,
of course.
your straight friends about certain delicate, things, and similarly with your trans friends.
Yes,
I want to ask a couple of questions from our viewers. Chef Andrea says, how do we differentiate tolerance from acceptance of transgender people?
Oh, that's tricky. So the Philippines is very difficult with trans people. We are tolerated, but the acceptance is still very low because based on our local laws, we are not allowed to change our gender marker on our identification. We can't change our names also. So in that sense, the Philippines is very tolerant because they've grown up with us in the industry of film and again the old school makeup hairstylists. But moving forward, I still carry my identification as Ian Angelo King, so I can't change that because they made a rule. I don't know when they made a rule, but in the olden days you could change your name. Excuse me, and then now we can't. So that in itself is something difficult because when I do travel and they look at your identification and they look at you and they're like, what's happening here? So the only time I got like some grief for that was when I had to travel to one of the connecting flights through the Middle East, and that was an interesting experience. Even though we were just connecting, when we were going through the gates, and I had bright purple hair back then, and the guy was basically looking at my passport and then looking at me, and literally like 2 minutes of like staring up, staring down, staring up, staring down, and just like, okay. So I guess that's the biggest like issue that I've had. Well, one in Singapore also for Joey's birthday, but again, I was like, it's okay. The older generation has more difficulty with everything else.
Coping.
Yeah. Those were very conservative countries.
Yes, our
plain and simple.
Younger generation are all more accepting and more open mentally.
Yeah.
Actually, in line with that about the younger generation, we have a question here from Jel Decker. She asks, is there an age that it would be ideal to come out?
Ooh, good one.
I wish for myself that I was able to come out sooner because hormones work really well when you're younger. And the younger you are with your transition, the more chances you will have, the, I guess, secondary characteristics of the gender that you are presenting as. So for example, if I were to take estrogen and block my testosterone when I was in my teens of like 18, 19, then I'd have more chances of not having secondary characteristics like extreme hairiness for being male, because I had a full beard. I don't know if you guys remember.
Oh yeah, we were jealous of your beard because we can't grow that.
I had the full beard and then I had it would almost connect to my sideburns. I had long hair, and it was just a nightmare to laser all that off. Very painful. But again, if you were able to come out, I would say always the younger goal is better than the older goal, because at the end of the day, I realized that I didn't want to leave this earth without being my true self. So seeing how short and fleeting and fragile life is nowadays, it really is just like, I want to live 100% my authentic self and not second guess like, what if I. So that's where I'm at, and I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Great answer. Great answer.
I'm so
Angie.
lucky that you have such a supportive wife as well. All through this. I mean, you guys are such an ideal couple. We have one more question that we're going to throw out.
I just want to add really quickly. I think it's unfair though that only babies are allowed to have gender reveal parties. Why can't adults have gender reveal parties? You know what I'm saying? Like for your 25th birthday, Ange, whenever you came out, like, you know what? I'm going to throw a big party and I'm going to put a piñata in the middle of the room. And then when I hit it, it's either going to be pink or blue. And then we're all going to be waiting. We're going to get drunk. You're going to smack it. And then the pink powder comes out. We're like, yay! Ian is Angie!
Wilson, is there something you mean to tell us? Would you like to have a gender reveal party?
Yes, we should open up a company and just throw gender reveal parties for adults. You know how much? Oh, my God, that would be so much fun. Yes, Angie, you're our endorser. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Next question.
Okay. All right. Well, we did have a question here, but I'm going to go to one that just came up because I think it's very important from
Yes.
Chodi Panson de Mapang. Said, what advice would you give to those members of the LGBTQ community who are still in the closet because they are afraid of how society will judge them?
As I was saying, it's very difficult because my experience is not what the majority of the community does experience. I'm on a different playing field because I do own my business and people work for me and I don't work for other people. So it makes it very tricky when you are working for other people because you could get fired and discriminated for being out of the conformist category. And one of my biggest advice to the community who are still in the closet and who do want to come out is look for a confidant, look for a close friend or even someone in the actual community already that you can confide in and talk to and, really express and be yourself and get all this like heavy burden of thoughts out of your head and into that shared safe space, because it really helps to talk to friends. I had counseling when I first came out, and I went to the counselor 3 times before ultimately deciding what to do with my situation. I really wanted to seek help, and funny enough, at the end of the day, you have to come to terms with your own truth, and that's how the counselor basically bundled everything up. It's like at the end of the day, I can help show you the door, but you still have to walk through it yourself. And it's the same situation in terms of anyone, in terms of changing industries, changing genders, where you have the idea, people can tell you what to do, but you still have to be the one to make that final decision and own it and say, I'm a trans woman and this is what's going to happen and I'm going to do this. So again, baby steps. So you can't just come out just like that. There needs to be a prep plan because, at the end of the day, if you are going to transition, it's actually still very costly also to get the medication, get the checkups from the doctor to balance your hormones, and it's not cheap. So all the laser hair treatment it's expensive and time-consuming process. I think I did my laser over 3 years, maybe more.
Wow.
And it hurts.
Being a girl is tough. I tell you.
It's super
being
tough.
a girl is expensive and tough. But women look beautiful. That's why they look beautiful. God bless them.
Yes,
Yeah.
amen.
Well, I guess just like any great new adventure, you need to make sure you prepare and have your support network well in place before you take the first major step.
Yes.
Angie, you know what? Thank you. There are so many more questions. We've never had this many questions for any guest before, but sadly, we're running low on time. So, Angie, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out. We know you're probably jet lagged and everything, but you're obviously a huge, you've got a huge positive impact on the LGBTQ community. We're so happy we had the honor of having you here for this Pride Month episode. And everyone, please follow at Angie Mead King on Instagram. She also puts together great YouTube, so check out her YouTube page as well. Just a general all-around awesome person to follow. We haven't even begun to talk about her as a farmer or her as such a passionate environmentalist, and hopefully we'll be able to have her on the show again to talk about those as well in the future. Angie, thank you so much, sis. Hugs.
Thank you. Love you both. Miss you.
You killed
Love
it,
you
Angie.
too.
You killed it. You killed it. Thank you so
Big
much,
love
Angie.
to
We
you too,
appreciate you.
Joey.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
We shall.
Looking forward
definitely.
to it.
Taco Tuesday at your place.
In the farm.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
All right. Ooh, that was fun and informative. I learned a lot.
I did too. Absolutely. That's what this whole episode was about. Come in with an open heart, an open mind, and a clean slate, as we say. So thank you, Angie. Thank you, everyone who's been commenting and help pushing this Fantastic episode. Thank you, Mark, as well.
Yeah,
Great job so
yeah.
far, bud.
We're really sorry that we weren't able to get to ask Angie all of your questions. There are so many
Yeah.
incredible ones. It was really difficult to choose which ones to get to. But thank you very much for writing them in. And yeah, we love that you guys are engaged. Ro, what's up?
All right. Up next, we have a pretty cool episode in light, of course, with Pride Month. It's called Becky 101 segment. Check it out. We, as straight males, we need to get a leg up on it. We need to know what it's all about. And we have the perfect person to help us through Becky 101. Yes, folks, we have two guests on today's episodes. That's two for the price of one. Who says Mark Nelson and Revilson's show doesn't save you money? So with that being said, this is a person that you want to engage at parties. He's all the rage. I can never guess his age. And you know what? He belongs in a cage. But most important, she is amazing when she's on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the diva herself, Dax Carnay.
Sorry, just changing the tone.
Hey, right. Daxy.
How
also wearing purple.
All right, let me just school you motherfuckers on what's gonna go down. But before that, let me just say, Angie is such an amazing beacon of light, especially in the community. As being part of the community, like, she has shown that any established man can show vulnerability and be the person that they are, you know? And it's really hard. Like, the struggle, dude, I've been going through that being a ghetto-ass bitch myself. It's really hard to be a owner of a business, respected in marketing, and an amazing job. Right. You made me wait so long. I'm still drunk right now. So
I know. No, we did that on purpose. We wanted you coming in hot. We want you coming in hot, as you always do.
Ask the question. All right, let's roll the first one.
Let's go. Let's roll.
Ang jubit ni What's Me, ha? Kahit mo na yung Chandra Bells ni bakla. Again. Ang jubit ni What's Me, ha? Kahit mo na yung Chandra Bells ni bakla. A clue. Physical appearance. Do we have a timer of some sort, or do I just watch myself on this camera?
No, we got to get this within 30 seconds. You're asking us to translate this?
Yes.
Can we just try and pronounce it? That'll be hard enough.
Could you say it first? Could you say it?
Okay, we do have to say it. All right. Ang jubit ni What's Me, kayat mo ng Chandra Bells ni bakla.
Ooh, that was good.
Did I get it?
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. How about you, Nelson?
Ang jubit ni What's Me, kahit mo na yung Chandra Bells ni bakla.
You're a horrible gay person, Mark.
I know.
You
make a horrible gay person.
You were not surprisingly convincing, Revilson.
I'm an actor.
So what's the answer?
Go. Help us out with this one, Dax. Go for it.
What's Me, kahit mo na yung Chandra Bells ni bakla. I am so fat. Look at my tummy.
Really?
Where? How? How did?
Oh my God! This is a long etymology. Jubit from jubis, which is obese, which is fat.
Yes.
Right. What's
I love
me?
it.
What's me is from wata, from watashi, which is me.
Wow.
Sight, which is see. Chandra Bells will be from chan, which is your stomach, and nibakla, basically me.
Yeah. Wow. So many layers. That's impressive. Okay, yeah, I get it now. No, now we know the general way of decoding and breaking down.
Yes.
Bading speak. All right. Give us the next one.
Bakla. Super Portugal ng gabebe ni Wata. Paka-Kyorgal ng kahumbanggi.
All right, Mark, go first with pronouncing.
Bakla, super Portugal ng gabebe ni Wata. Paka-Kyorgal ng kahumbanggi.
You are the worst bading, Mark. You are a horrible bading.
I don't know why those rumors kept up. You're so horrible at being gay.
Right? No, thank you, Dax. Mark is fucking horrible at being gay.
Yep.
And sorry, that is not a compliment.
Oh my God, so much. Yeah. All right, go. Go, Revilson.
All right, my turn. Bakla, super Portugal, and grabe be ni wata. Pakakyorgal ni karambangi.
How about okay?
Bakla.
What's your guess, Nelson? You first.
Well, bakla is, we know what bakla is. Super Portugal ni ng grabebi ni wata. Okay. Grabebe is like grabe, like a lot. Wata, is that like mata, eyes? Super Portugal, so Portugal's a country in Europe. So maybe your eyes look super European. Super Portugal ng grabe ni wata.
Portugal eyes. What do you mean?
I don't know, what do Portuguese eyes look like?
You know what? Can I just say, every gay person that's ever had a crush on you no longer has a crush on you, Mark. You are fucking horrible.
You
are
gave them
horrible. No one has a heart on right now, Mark. You are a horrible gay
Okay,
person.
well, do you want to take over, Mr. Fernandez? I would love to hear what you have to say.
No.
Fernandez.
Yeah. Okay. Bakla, super Portugal ni grabebe ni wata. Okay. I'm going to say straight up, Portugal, they're kind of known for sausages. So we're talking about grabe, that guy's ding dong, something like that. Pakakyorgal ng karumbangi. Pakakyorgal ng karumbangi. Kyorgal. Kyo shoot. I have the first sentence. I can't get the second. Pakikyorgal ng karambangi. Oh, I don't know, but you're talking about the dude's sausage. That's all I know. I'm so sorry. Dax, help us decode this, please.
All right.
End our misery.
Some of the viewers actually were able to guess it correctly. So, bakla, which is like, you refer to anyone. It's like saying bro. You know this. Okay, I'm drunk. So, bakla. Super Portugal. Super means like super. Portugal is from the word tagal. Portugal, which is taking. Now, grab, the grab.
He would
grab car.
Ni wata. I also already mentioned this earlier. Wata, watashi, me.
Right.
So my grab car is super. It's taking too long. Pakakyorgal ng karambangi. Paka, which is like a superlative. Kyorgal,
right.
Tagal. It's another version of Portugal. It's still Tagal.
Wow.
Rumbangi, car. Rumbangi, the car.
Oh, you guys.
Hey, Abu, you got it right.
Wow. Can I just point out that Revilson's guess of the first line you gave us was something about a guy's balls, and his guess on this one was something about a guy's dick.
Mark, with Dax saying we are the worst gays ever is probably the greatest compliment she's ever said to us. So thank you, Dax, for saying that to us.
I see you guys having pretty.
Here.
Oh my
Dax,
God.
You know what? It is always a riot catching up with you. And we are so happy that you were able to join us. We know that it's probably 4 a.m. in Melbourne right now. Thank you for taking the time out.
No, I'm kidding. I actually kind of like ceded this to Nelson. To Nelson, to Fernandez. It's like, it's June. It's Pride. You're not guessing me. What fucking kind of mistake are you doing? Jesus.
You know our show. We only have one guest. And so obviously
and now you have four. I'm worth 3.
Yeah. No. We were like, we need to have Dax on this episode. So thank you, Dax, so much.
Oh, you were an absolute riot.
No,
we love you too, Dax.
We love you so much.
You know what? You look happy. Continue doing whatever you're doing and representing the Filipinos in Melbourne. You're doing a great job. Thank you, Dax. We love you, brother and sister. Same time.
See you, Dax.
Cheers, bitches.
Love you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. And Revilson, it's been fun, but just like always, what is it that we need?
We need new friends. See you next week, everybody. Thank you. Love
Bye,
you.
guys.